big cubes, small cubes, pyramids, that weird shape-shifting thing that looks like a 3x3. What was it called? Oh. Wait, 1? What was that? But I thought it was a square one. You know, 1 squared, 1 to the second power. Come on. You know how to solve a Rubik's Cube, but you don't know simple math? Looks like our generation's doomed. Let's talk about alternative WCA events. Cubing version of gambling. Best event. Please don't double parody. Please don't double parody. Please. Fun. Not fun. Fun. Best event with restrictions. How do I turn this thing? This thing is impossible to scramble. Harder 3x3. Fun challenge. Hard, but satisfying. Too much brain power. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough to do this. Ew. Clock. So I think the big question a lot of beginners have is, well, how do I get into these events? There are so many choices and so many opinions all over the community that it's hard to pinpoint a specific event to start at. Most people, including me, would point towards the 4x4 for the very next adventure for you to embark on. It's the perfect introduction to higher ordered Rubik's Cubes and offers insight on the basics of solving bigger cubes. Some might recommend a 2x2 as it's essentially a 3x3 without the edge pieces, so as long as you're capable of solving a 3x3, a 2x2 should be a piece of cake. While this is a good exercise to test your understanding of a 3x3, that's really all I think it's good for. You won't be learning anything particularly new or different, which, you know, if learning stuff isn't your thing, then to each their own, I suppose. But, assuming that you eventually want to get into other puzzles, 4x4 is probably the way to go. The most basic method of solving a 4x4 is known as reduction, which might sound quite intimidating at first. The idea lies within reducing the cube into a big 3x3 then solving it normally. To do this, you create 4x4 squares that make up the center and 1x2x2 edge pieces that make up the edges. Once you've done this, you basically have a giant 3x3. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the details here, but learning how to solve a 4x4 is just as easy, if not easier, than learning how to solve a 3x3, especially if you have all the fundamentals down. And after that, you're basically set for the rest of the bigger cubes. 5x5 through 7x7 all follow the exact same formula of reducing the cube into a 3x3, then solving it like you would a 3x3. Of course, you might need to know a few things about commutators here and there for centers and, you know, a couple of edge parity algorithms that you don't need for 4x4. But those aren't a big deal, so don't worry about it. Maybe through your journey of learning these higher ordered puzzles, you get a bit bored of them. After all, they are all relatively the same. This is a perfect chance for you to expand to other events, and at this point it's basically free reign for you. You can try out a Pyraminx, a relatively easy puzzle to pick up, and quite similar to the 2x2 in nature. Maybe try out a Scube or a Square 1 if you want a different interpretation added to the typical cube shape you're so used to. If you enjoy 3x3 but find it too simplistic, Megaminx might be a great event for you to get into, as it is literally a 3x3 but with pentagon faces and a lot more F2L pairs. Although, I guess it really wouldn't be called F2L, would it? Get into some 3x3 one-handed action, refining your finger tricks and look ahead all the while abusing the poor table. If you're really daring, try out feet, although be sure to wash your feet beforehand. No one wants to scramble a smelly cube. Blindfolded sounds intimidating, but the most basic method, Old Tokman, is designed to be easy to pick up. I only learned 3 blind when I was averaging 16ish, but I've heard people learn the method when they were barely sub 1 minute. Go figure. As for higher ordered blindfolded events, I have absolutely no clue because I don't know how to do them, but they do seem like a fun challenge, especially if you want to impress your friends. Similarly, FMC seems like such a unique event that it's probably worth your time to try it out at least once. High-level FMC cubers are able to adopt lots of advanced techniques to solve the cubes in as few moves as possible, and it's really quite impressive. Point is, there's a plethora of events for you to try out, and it's really completely up to you as to which one you want to focus on. Ultimately though, I think the most important part to all of this is to have fun. Cubing shouldn't ever be thought of as a job or a chore, in that you're obligated to do every single event. Some people don't even care much for the WCA events. They prefer the aspect of solving complex twisty puzzles such as cuboids or weird shapeshifters. Others get into modding puzzles and creating their own personal design. Where you go on your own path is completely up to you, and where you end up, your goals, your achievements, your developments, those are all but a projection of your own personal interests and unwavering determination. And I think anyone should be proud of that.